Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. Coming up is an interview with our joint managers Neil Baker and Jon Underwood with a squad update for you. Now we were due to give you an update on return of fans, but with the ever-changing scenario and Slough being in Tier 3 and what it means and a league meeting that was going to happen, what we're going to do is we're going to keep your questions and pass them on and get the answers to you as soon as we can. So just enjoy the interview with our joint managers Neil Baker and Jon Underwood about the current squad and the situation this season, and we'll bring you the rest when we have further details. Thanks. So joining us this evening, just to give everyone an update with the news today and also the squad update, we have joint managers Neil Baker, Jon Underwood, and the man on the end, in case you haven't seen him before, is our new chairman, Mr. Mike Lightfoot. Mike, look at the camera. Say hello. So the purpose of today is just to give you an update on what's going on. Obviously, with the news coming out today that we're in Tier 3, there's not a great deal that we can say. But I think the main thing is we know fans want to come back in, but we have to make sure that everyone in this club, from the players, the managers, the volunteers, to the fans, are safe. And obviously, Neil and Jon, you've had a couple of COVID issues. Do you want to explain a little bit about the process and what you have to do and what you're asking from players?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a nightmare, in all honesty. I think every club up and down the country is probably having the same issues. Obviously, this week we've had Chippenham game called off for the second time. The first time was predominantly Chippenham. They had a few issues within. We did have a potential issue, but it wasn't going to stop us from playing. This week we had John, our physio, who's been sharing with Alex. He funnily enough, who tested positive on Sunday night. So I think you got a call Sunday evening.
Yeah, late Sunday. Yeah.
About 9-10 o'clock to say that she had tested positive, and obviously with John being in our changing room on Saturday, treating a number of players, it opened up a potential COVID issue. So we alerted the league, and John had to go and get a test on Monday. Unfortunately, amazingly, it's come back negative. It beggars belief really that he lives in the same house and it's come back negative. So good from our point of view, because it means that we can go back into training, because we actually, as a whole squad, we had to go straight into isolation. So Monday, it was Monday and most of Tuesday that we were waiting on the results for John, and fortunately they've come back negative. So that's just one thing.
Obviously, it means with Ebbsfleet, as we know, they're now into isolation for 2 weeks, because I think there's been a few issues there, a few positive tests. So we lose Chippenham because of that, and then we lose Ebbsfleet because of their situation. So not ideal. No. I think in our league, Bath have had it now.
Yeah,
Bath, Welling, Ebbsfleet now.
Number in the north as well.
Yeah, so it's become the new normal. It becomes what we have to get used to, and you have to be flexible, you have to adapt, and your plans have to change. And we're looking at rescheduling games, but I think we may well have a game next Saturday now on the 5th. We're just waiting on that. Otherwise, it's haven't on Wednesday the 9th. But
it's also, from our point of view, you're asking the players to try and be as sensible and safe as possible, but they all work. They have jobs and come into contact with other people. I myself, I have an issue whereby the last couple of weeks, apart from Saturday, 3 previous games, I hadn't been in the changing room before, during and after the game. I've got a situation with my dad, who's having chemotherapy at the moment, and I'm sort of back and forth between Fakenham and here, and I can't afford to pick up anything, and it's as simple as that. And I think the health of everyone is probably the most important thing, really.
One of the questions that came up about COVID is, because you've got a lot of injuries at the start of the season, has the fact that COVID and maybe players, I don't know, their fitness isn't as much, maybe they're not doing as much as they were?
We'll talk about this. I don't think in our case specifically, I think we picked up injuries from impact from challenges that, obviously Ada on the opening day, Cam's had an ankle injury from a tackle. I think the only muscle injury would be Ben's.
A little bit of the back.
Yeah, so probably not. I wouldn't say, but I think generally in football, I think we are seeing more. I think the stats say there's more injuries. If you look at the Premier League players, there's more injuries. So yeah, and I don't think that's going to get any better with all the with the amount of games we've got to squeeze in. I think we're going to end up, and before we even get into postponements as well, Saturday, Tuesday, it will take its toll, and it will take its toll on those smaller squads, that's for sure. The clubs that can carry 22, 24 players, I think will obviously be in a better position. But no, I think at the moment, I don't think we can kind of point to that, but it may well become a factor as the season goes on for us.
Didn't want to bring it up, but you did say you are on the run of 4 losses at the moment. You have got a small squad, which you've explained. Are you trying to do anything about it? One of the questions came up was some of the teams have dual registered from step 3. Did you have a look at it? Was there a reason why you didn't?
Yeah, I mean, we're always talking, about the squad, the team, and where we can improve, and where we can improve within budget and whatever else. We talked about the step 3 situation for quite a bit. For me and him, there was a morality issue. Easy for me to say. In first dealing with your players, because you're bringing a player in for maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks maximum, maybe upsetting somebody you've got for a player who's playing at a lower level, maybe a good player, but somebody who's then potentially going straight back to that club. Also, we've already seen it, that there's 1 or 2 clubs that have been helpful in allowing their players to go to step 2 clubs, and now they've lost their players. Seen today that Braintree have managed to keep a player from Bishop Stortford, and I don't know. It's a tough one. We always want to do well in football, but I also think there's a right way of doing things, and I think we've always done that, and so we talked about it a lot. And if I'm brutally honest, we hadn't identified anyone that we would specifically say, yes, we've got to go and get him, and he's going to make a massive difference to our side. So for that point,
when it happened, we were probably a month or so into the season.
Yeah.
We've put our squad together. That's our squad. We believe in that squad, and maybe some of them haven't hit the ground running yet. Maybe not everybody's.
But to be fair, at that stage, we'd
done all right.
We'd won 2, drawn 1, lost 1 of our first 4, and won at Dartford in the FA Cup. So we weren't in terrible shape.
No, at that point, you're not desperately looking to replace the players you've got. And some managers are different. Some managers are constantly bringing players in, letting players go. And any Slough fan knows that's not us. We will obviously always try and improve where we can, but we have faith in our players. And in the day as managers, you put a squad together. You're responsible for putting that squad together. If within 4 weeks of the season you're making loads of changes, what does that say about your recruitment? And yes, in the last few weeks it hasn't gone well for us, but I don't think signing 2 or 3 step 3 players would have made a huge difference, to be honest.
Was there no one that you potentially looked at as from a step 3 that you kept your eye on and had the chance to bring them in, or just?
Not really. I mean, you've still got to remember that some of these players are on contract as well. So
a lot of the better
ones might be on contract, and as I said, there's probably only one position that we were really looking for, but it's not come up. It's not somebody that we've identified saying, yeah, that's the right one for us. That's going to take us on to the next level. And
obviously, what we did do was brought in Mal from Wickham. We had injuries up top in the first couple of weeks of the season, so we brought him in to cover that. So yeah, that's what we did to cover the forward situation, give us another option up top. So as opposed to going down a level, we took one from Wickham. So yeah, but obviously, as Blake said, good start to the season. If you look, first 4 league games, 7 points. We had the defeat at Dorking, but other than that, we picked up 7 from 9 here. Excuse me. So we were quite happy after 4 games. We went out. The cup was disappointing here against Bath. We had a brilliant win at Dartford. So it's been these last 4 games, and I think we're not used to losing 4 games on the bounce. It feels like 24 games because we're not used to a losing run, let's be honest. what we've always said since we come up to this level is we want to be competitive week in, week out, and I'd say in 3 of those 4 games we were competitive. I think the odd one out was Hungerford here, who were much better than us on the night, and we weren't at it. Having said that, we gave away crucial goals at crucial times, and if we hadn't done that, we may have got something out of the game. But we were second best that night. Maidstone here, very good side, and it could have gone either way, and we lost out late on. We went to Billericay, and I insist we were the better side, 11v11 and 10v11. Harsh sending off just before half time, and we played really, really well there. And then on Saturday, you go to Dartford, the league leaders as they were at the time, and I thought we put in off the back of Hungerford, we put in a much improved performance. But it was always going to be a difficult game, and we were punished for a poor 5 minutes straight after half time. I think if you take the game in context, I actually think we did okay, and I think we've been, the results in those 4 games clearly aren't what we wanted. I think if we're probably 2 wins off where we would be happy being at this stage, and I think it's important not to go overboard. What we've been given now is a little break, which might end up being good for us. You never know. It gives us a chance to regroup. 4 or 5 training sessions, 1 or 2 injuries that may clear up. It just gives us time to reset, and who knows? It might not make any difference. We obviously hope it does. I
think you made a good point to me the other day. Was when we first came into this league, and even last year, we always said we just want to be competitive. We want to be competitive week in, week out. We were playing in games last season where there was nothing in the game, absolutely nothing in the games, and we might have nicked 1-0, 2-1. We weren't pulverising teams. We weren't winning 4s, 5-0s. We're not, as a side, as a group, we're not world beaters. We were players who worked hard and tried to do the right things, and we were picking up wins because of that. And at the moment, the last couple of weeks, that hasn't happened. But I still have plenty of belief in the squad of players that we've got, that they can turn that round and put some wins together. It's as quick as you lose a few games, you can go and win a few games. I think the season before last, we hadn't started great, and I remember we went to Chelmsford, didn't we? We got a 1-0 win, and then all of a sudden we went and won a few more games. So football's I said it in the interview with you the other day. Football is all about confidence, and at the moment we've been sloppy in a few areas whereby we've conceded sloppy goals by our standards. We know that, they know that. Does it make them bad players? No, it doesn't make them bad players. We know that we probably still need to add, something to the squad, but to do that, we would need to manoeuvre it around, and it's also identifying the right person that's going to come in and have an instant impact. As Under said, having Ben hopefully back, that will also make a difference for us, because he is a focal point for us.
You're obviously missing fans. That's especially on away games. I think that Dartford, especially, you could tell the atmosphere was very, very quiet. But with the quietness, what you're getting is, there seems to be, that I picked up, sometimes opposition managers and opposition players seem to be a lot more in the ear of the referee because there's no crowd noise. Is that?
I'd say not just opposition managers. So we're probably
I didn't want to say
exactly the same. So we talked about this earlier, and I don't think you can use that. I think these things, with or without crowds, referees' decisions, things like that, I firmly believe that they do even themselves out over a season. And we've had some ones we don't agree with, and the Birdie sending off, we were really upset at Billericay. We felt there was some kind of double standards in terms of their lad not getting his second yellow and then Birdie getting his, and I don't think that's down to the fans. I think you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. I don't think the refereeing angle is something that's there, something to discuss. I think the missing fans is
big,
huge. There's those games where, like you say, away from home, having 150, 200 behind the goal, we know what a difference they make, and it makes it a really strange experience at the moment. It doesn't feel like the football that we know and love. It feels there's an edge taken off it, and that there is for us. And I think some players have coped better than others.
Yeah.
I think, let's be honest. I think it's weird for everyone. it's not us using it as an excuse.
No.
But there are clearly some teams that have settled, and certainly individuals within our team that maybe have settled better than others. These players haven't become bad players, but it's all a bit weird. And when you have that kind of scenario, some people cope better than others. And we've, in the last couple of weeks, not done great. And is that crowds or not? I don't know. Might be, might not be.
I definitely think that, there's that element there of, it just doesn't seem that energy. I talk about energy, and sometimes. I'll go back to the Hungerford game and Robbo's missed penalty. If he puts that in the back of the net, if we've got fans in, I'm convinced that we go and get something from the game. We probably might have got something from the game anyway, if Robbo scored that. But I'd be convinced that in that scenario with people shouting and getting behind you, that everyone be lifted. And it does, it lifts the players. And at the same time, when you make mistakes and there's nobody there, you can see players, their reactions, the slump, and so yeah, they're missed. Put it that way, they're missed.
I've never appreciated how important. We've always appreciated our supporters, but I don't think you realise what a big part in our experience as managers. You turn up. We enjoy having a chat with a few of the supporters before the game, and the atmosphere they bring, and then going in the bar after the game and having a beer. And we were never prepared for it, because none of us had ever been in this situation before, and I think it's really hit home to everyone in football how vital they are.
I think we are. Everyone's noticing it. It's a very strange atmosphere at the moment. A question about that came from Boron was salary cap. Do you think, especially in times like this, clubs should have a salary cap?
So again, another thing we've chatting in the car on the way here. We'd seen Warren's question. And it's a real difficult one, because why should certain clubs be penalised? I know this situation now whereby we're all on a level playing field effectively. We've all had the same grant. But that's not the same throughout the season. Why should a Maidstone or Dulwich have to adhere to a certain budget because Hungerford only get 300 people, for example? You're always going to have sort of winners and losers in that scenario. And also, I think, having been involved in football for so many years and seeing certain clubs and how they deal with players and pay their players and things like that, I think there will always be clubs that would find a loophole around it. Whether it's a chairman paying a player via his company, paying him for coaching. So I just don't think it's ever going to be crystal clear, and therefore, I'd love it for everyone to be, pretty open about it, but it's never going to be the case.
Yeah.
People are always going to probably lie about what they're paying and things like that.
I understand the sentiment behind it. I just don't think it's practical.
No,
I just don't think it could ever work and be fairly managed, to be honest.
I guess it also penalises clubs that are quite proactive in their community.
Correct.
Dulwich is the perfect example, where they've gone in the last 5 or 6 years and what they've grown, and then you've got to say, well, because other teams can't do that, you've got to adhere to their.
And that's not
right.
Obviously, that's what Mark's trying, trying to generate. Obviously pre-lockdown and trying to improve our crowds and things like that. Why should a club be punished for trying to be proactive on that? So it's a real difficult thing. I don't think you can have a level playing field at all, because that's not how life is. Businesses aren't like that, and football at the end of the day is, whilst we all love it, it's still a business.
Just give us an update on some of the injuries, if you can, of the players. Obviously, you've got quite a few injuries, so like Cam is obviously.
Cam. Well, we haven't seen Cam since in the past week, just because. When we go away at the minute, we're reducing our numbers. We're not taking injured players with us to away games. So we'll see him tonight, see how he is. I think he's going to be a good, maybe another 3 weeks, something like that. Unfortunately, he went over on his ankle. Ben's been making good progress. We'd initially targeted the Saturday just gone for Ben, but he had a little setback 2 weeks ago, and that's just sort of slowed him up a bit. But he's close again. We're hoping this week and next week we can get him pretty close to being returning. Ada, obviously, he's been out since the opening day, which is a real shame because he was doing so well. Won us the penalty in the FA Cup, and then obviously got injured in doing so. He's probably maybe a week behind Ben, but he's not. He's showing improvement now. For a while he wasn't, and he's showing some improvement now. Jack McKnight is one. It's an ongoing issue, a sciatica problem that he's had previously that's resurfaced. We're just having to manage him a little bit. So I don't think, maybe he won't be involved when we return. We'll see. We'll have to see how. A lot of it we're going to have to see over this next week or two in training. But other than that, we're not in too bad shape. And I think, as Bakes has mentioned, Ben's a really important one, not just as a player but as a character within the team. And he's a tough character. He's a competitor, and I think we're always better having him in the squad. Certainly having him out on the pitch. So that's good news that hopefully he's not far away. I think that's it, isn't it? We've had one or two others that have.
Guy and Niz.
Guy and Niz.
Max has had a problem with his ankle where we've had to manage him a little bit, where he's not played in certain games. It's
nothing
not
too serious.
No, it's nothing too serious. It's more of probably bruised bone, but it's not. It hasn't been getting any better. So hopefully this little break might help that.
Yeah.
And Guy's sort of on his way back to obviously
Guy
played on
Niz,
Saturday.
Yeah, come back in Saturday, and it was great to see them back in. Obviously Niz did the 90, and Guy we took off after about an hour. Just at that point we're 2 down and we wanted to take a defender off, but he looked physically fit as well. So that's a real positive. They're 2 big players for us.
Appreciate you're going to take training in a minute, so I'll make this the last question. You've obviously got some younger players in this season from last season. To get rid of a few experienced players and bring in some young players, how are they settling in? And is it the fact that the situation we're in, because I know speaking to Jack McKnight, he was saying, I know you've got a fantastic away support, hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
It is a transition for us. I think, we did have quite an old experienced side last season, and there's a few that have gone on. The average age has come down a little bit. We've had a few players in their early 20s. I mean, that was a conscious decision. We wanted to freshen up. It's probably one of the hardest things when at the top level, I think, of like some of the great sides, you reach a point where you feel you need to just inject some new life into the team, and it doesn't always click straight away, that balance of experienced and younger. And one thing we always do a lot of is kind of team building and stuff like that as well, and that's been really difficult, obviously impossible to do. And so little things like that don't help. All in all, the lads have settled fine. We're happy with them all, but we're probably just not quite clicked as a team. Even when we had those wins at the beginning of the season, we weren't at our best, and I think we all know that. I think that's the key now. Can we just click that extra little bit? And I think we're happy with all the lads we've brought in. It just probably needs another win or two, and I think there's no reason why we can't go on a good run.
But it's getting those fans back in would have been huge. Coming into that step, that tier 3 today, it's expected, to be honest, having seen the Slough Borough Council sort of tweet and
didn't quite expect us just to be that little dot, to be honest. Sort of not solving.
But it's so difficult, even our players on our WhatsApp group, they're all showing heart emojis when they heard about fans coming back, and because they all miss it themselves. They miss it. It's that sort of extra, it gives them that little extra, and they'll be gutted. They'll be gutted.
That positive sort of dangled in front of us earlier in the week, and then in the back of our mind we're like, yeah, but are we going to be able to do that? And then it gets taken up.
And then another, then you look at the fact that you're going to be going to some of these sides, who have that benefit of having their crowds in, which has always been a benefit. There's always been that, and they're going to have that. We're not. And then also you then have the funding question. How long does this go on for in tier 3? Are we going to be in tier 3 for a number of months, which is likely? It is potentially likely. We've got funding from the National Lottery till the end of December. What happens after that? That's a real question, and that's big questions for the leagues to have to answer, because I think there's going to be problems at step 3, step 4 now, with all the sides that are sort of under that tier 3 banner that are going to have to either play behind closed doors, which none of them are going to be able to do without funding. And so football's a little bit of a mess, I think, personally. It's not what we're used to. It's a completely strange situation. We're trying to get our heads around it. We're trying to do as much as we can, but it's...
So it makes the priorities different. Our priority as football managers is clearly to try and finish as high up the table as we can, and obviously we got in the playoffs last year, we want to try and get in the playoffs this year, but as a club, and obviously that's not just our responsibility as other people who that's their responsibility, but we want to survive this as a club. You know, we can't put the club's future at risk, you know, and we work very closely with Mike and Craig and Kay, make sure that we do things the right way, and that has to be, this club needs to survive beyond this season and beyond me and Bakes, you know, so that is the priority. As managers, we want to finish as high as we can, but if we can get through this season with a future and a strong financial footing, that's more important than anything else, so we're fully aware of that.
Brilliant, gents. Thank you very much. We've got to take training, so thanks for joining us. Thanks for answering the questions that have been sent in.
Lovely.
No
Cheers.
problem.
Thank you.
Cheers, Abe.
Perfect.